Well, a 33-year-old woman had a miscarriage in Ohio, and now they're trying to charge her over the disposal of the body, even though there's no laws dictating how you dispose of a miscarriage.
Glad you're streaming with us. Well, we've been reporting on the growing number of women across the United States caught in the political crosshairs following the overturning of Roe versus Wade in 2022. This story now leading us to Ohio, where Brittany Watts, a 33-year-old black woman, says she went to the hospital multiple times after bleeding during her pregnancy. Watts returned home where she suffered a miscarriage. Now she's being charged with abuse of a corpse, and she faces up to 1 year in prison and a $2,500 fine.
Well, that's just crazy. And right-wingers kept saying that cases like these wouldn't happen after the overturning of Roe versus Wade, that they would just go after, like, I don't really even know who they were trying to say they claim they were going to go after with the overturning of Roe versus Wade. But these cases are going to be happening more and more where women are going to be charged for having miscarriages.
National policy correspondent Ann Flaherty is here to break it all down for us. So, Ann, this just seems so unfair.
Well, it certainly is a heartbreaking case out of Trumbull County, Ohio. This is a young woman, a young black woman who had gone to the hospital for treatment. She was told that she had lost her baby because her amniotic sac had broken, her water had broken, and there was no way that the child was going to survive. She was around the point of viability, though, so there was that chance, and she could have had it induced. For reasons that are not immediately clear, she did leave that hospital and then came back the next day. Her lawyer says she sat there for hours with no treatment. Her lawyer thinks that the hospital may have been debating whether or not to treat her based on that Ohio abortion law. She ended up.
Yeah, a lot of women are not receiving the kind of treatment they need to deal with a non-viable fetus because doctors are afraid of being put in prison over the strict abortion laws that a lot of these states have. It's going to cause a lot of women to die.
Up leaving and miscarrying at home. Now, here's the real head scratcher to all of this, which is that when the police were sent to her home, they found the remains, but then they charged her with abuse of a corpse. And, you know, as her lawyer pointed out, a lot of women miscarry at home. It's not immediately clear what you should do with fetal remains, and it's not clear why they chose that path for a woman who had just miscarried.
Because they're trying to set a precedent where they can charge women for having a miscarriage. It is pretty sickening, actually.
So, Watt's lawyers are saying that her delayed care was the result of this internal legal battle at the hospital over the abortion restrictions in the state. You know, Mercy Health did give us a statement saying the safety and security of every patient who comes to us for care is our highest priority. Out of respect for patient privacy, we will not discuss individual specifics of care. But it doesn't sound like Brittany got good care.
Well, you know, we haven't confirmed exactly what happened at the hospital. We do know that Ohio's viability law their abortion restrictions have to do with viability. So once a fetus is up to about 22 to 24 weeks, then abortion is no longer allowed. It is possible that the lawyers were considering whether or not she was too close to that at that time. We just simply don't know because the hospital, as you say, is not discussing it for privacy concerns. But I think, you know, there's a bigger question here, which is why is this prosecutor then pursuing this as abuse of a corpse rather than a miscarriage case?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we have a lot of questions surrounding this, obviously. I know you've been speaking with a lot of doctors who say...
Again, the prosecutor is trying to create a precedent for the state where they can start charging women for having miscarriages and claiming that they're abusing the corpse.
Basically, their hands are tied, you know, when it comes to treating women and practicing, you know, health care by the law. So what do you think this case could actually do?
You know, this is something that groups like Sister Song, Black Feminist Future, they've been talking about this for months now, since the fall of Roe, that anytime that you create laws criminalizing things like abortions, that you're going to see more court cases like this. They say that this is exactly what you're going to see, that people will criminalize, particularly Black women, and in poorer parts of the country. So we've mostly talked to
Oh yeah, black women and poor white women are gonna suffer the most from laws like these. Rich people, they're easily gonna get away with having abortions, especially like rich right-wingers who love to force women to get abortions because they don't want their wives to know about their affairs.
women who come from more affluent areas where they were, sounding the alarms on this and demanding that their doctors give them treatment. And we know that for every woman we interview like that, we know there are several, if not hundreds of women behind them that don't have those kind of resources and simply are worried about prosecution from the law. And I think that's one of the concerns that we're seeing in this case here.
So what options or resources are available for right now for a woman who may find herself in the same position that Brittany did?
You know, Kara, I don't really have good answers on this. I've been looking and researching. The CDC does not have any advice on this as far as I can tell. I think the best advice is to simply call your doctor and insist on that care when you're in a hospital. There are long waits. There's a lot of tremendous pressure on these hospitals in states